We are sitting at the precipice of $29.9 million on the Brandon Sanderson 4-book surprise book Kickstarter thing, and it seems like maybe by the time I wake up tomorrow morning, but definitely tomorrow, by the time you're seeing this video, Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter will have surpassed $30 million, and we've got an update for that. Just in case you've been living under a rock, Brandon Sanderson, one of the biggest fantasy writers of our time, gave a surprise announcement where he wrote 4 secret books, and those books are going to be released over the course of next year as they get finalized and edited, along with a swag bag. This is all being funded by a Kickstarter. Over the course of this month-long Kickstarter, Brandon Sanderson has been giving incremental updates on the secret project books that he's been talking about. If you check out the channel, I have channels discussing the preview chapters for each of the secret books that have been discussed so far. This would be week 3 of the Kickstarter, and I will be talking about book 3 of the secret Kickstarter novel secret chapters. Preview chapters, early chapters. But before we get there, as this Kickstarter has been extremely successful, a lot of people have been curious about where Brandon Sanderson is going to be spending all of these extra funds, and if you check out this FAQ, which I will link in the description down below, you can see the specifics. But essentially, Brandon Sanderson's running a business. It's going to be split as you would expect the business to split these profits, but along with the normal splits and producing the content which was promised, Brandon has basically said there's going to be higher quality swag bag items than he initially assumed. He's added a couple items to the swag bag, and Brandon has talked about his fear of Amazon becoming a monopoly in the book realm, which is something that I feel like most readers share. Dragonsteel, Brandon Sanderson's own self-house publishing company, is going to be expanding, and I think that's really cool. Essentially, Brandon Sanderson wants to be able to create alternatives to Amazon for getting book delivery and book publishing out there to regular people, and I would love to see his business expand into being able to publish other authors, being able to bypass the normal traditional publishing systems, and be able to get books out in a more consumer-friendly and maybe author-friendly way as well. In this FAQ, Brandon expressed his desire for basic convenience functions like when you buy a physical book, it comes with an ebook copy, so you don't have to sacrifice the ease of use and functionality that comes with being able to read your book everywhere, but also you can get the cool, fancy-looking book to put on your bookshelf if that's something that you care about. Things like this are consumer-friendly, and the whole nature of self-publishing, it tends to give more authors more freedom, and I would like to see that expand. Which is to say, if you saw my previous video talking about how I don't think Brandon Sanderson is revolutionizing the publishing industry, I don't think this Kickstarter is doing that on its own. But if Brandon chooses to use his success in this Kickstarter to actually literally change the way that publishing works in his own small way by creating alternative outlets to traditional publishing and also Amazon self-publishing, then yeah, that could make a big difference, I think. As a side note, Brandon mentioned in this fact that he's going to be using some of these extra funds to cover the import cost for readers that are ordering this internationally that have to deal with those types of things, which is both a consumer-friendly thing because you don't have to pay the import cost yourself, you pay the simple shipping costs that are included in the Kickstarter, but also this sort of helps them out as well. And I think he expressed this a little bit in that FAQ, but basically I think that they have to sort of pay some kind of fee if the books get returned if people choose not to pay the import costs, and so it saves them on some convenience and extra costs by just paying that, and it's also useful for the people ordering the books. All this being said, we got a title to match with one of these tentative covers, and we're talking about the cover with the purple and the blue. I'll put a picture of it up here. But the title for Secret Project Book 3 has been announced, and it is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I know there's a lot of you that may be watching this video that don't want to hear the spoiler-specific information about the preview chapters discussed, but I will say this is another one of the Cosmere-specific entries, and if I don't want to spoil too much, this one seems like it is more heavily tied into the Cosmere than any of the previous ones that we've seen so far. So yeah, here's the tentative cover, and it is called Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Once again, based on the preview chapters that we saw, I think this cover is very evocative of very interesting concepts that you may be able to pre-guess about in your mind before you even read the preview chapters. I love being able to analyze these covers, and these covers have sort of been designed in tandem with the books being designed, and like, it doesn't seem to just be a marketing thing. These covers actually seem to have information that is useful when we're digging into the context of what the story could be about. So yeah, if you haven't actually looked at the cover closely, do that, and then speculate in the comments down below. If you're not one of the people that reads the preview chapters, what do you think that this story is going to be about based solely on the cover and the name. As a Cosmere and Brandon Sanderson fan, I will continue to update you on the Kickstarter, the secret books, and other Cosmere related things as I come into interesting information related to them. And if that's something you'd like to see more of, please hit the subscribe button on this channel. If you hit the bell, you'll get notified whenever I post new videos about this or about anything else book related on this channel. If you liked my summary thus far, you can go ahead and smash the like button. It really does help. But with all that stuff out of the way, if you do not care to see any of the spoiler information regarding the preview chapters for this book, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. I hope to see you again in another video soon. I'm going to be starting the spoiler section right about now. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Brandon has revealed in the info dump section of this preview that we are seeing a very anime or Asian inspired fantasy in this one. And I think that of all of the books that we've seen thus far, this one really fits the normal Brandon Sanderson style more than the other two. And for Cosmere fans, of course, there is the hook of this is related to the Cosmere. This is being told by Hoid. This actually includes design in the story, as well as other interesting tidbits, like it seems like Hoid has been turned into a statue, and this is being recounted by him sometime in the future, but it does seem like in the story, he is a statue in a bar or restaurant, I guess, being used as a coat rack, which is a weird detail. The narrative style is different than Secret Project 1, where that one is more fairy tale style. This one seems more traditionally, it feels more regular Sanderson, which is to say, this one really starts off rough, I think, because it includes just a crap load of proper noun info dumping, common noun info dumping. Like, not all those words were capitalized, but a lot of them were unique, which is a really sometimes obnoxious way of doing world building. I think there's a lot of awesome, interesting world building, as well as like a lot of Cosmere cool things thrown in. Like, we got the name of another shard, it seems. Virtuosity. And I feel like for the deepest Cosmere nerds, you can really dive into just some of the throwaway lines here and probably extrapolate a lot of interesting information, whether it's just a line Hoid throw in about traveling between worlds, or the fact that design is here, maybe some of the things that she says. We see at least 2 different magic systems at play, and I'm not sure what exactly we're looking at, but the way that I sort of am interpreting it is it seems like we are seeing maybe 2 different sides of the same world. I didn't interpret this as being 2 different completely separate worlds, but it's definitely possible. Like, it seems like at one point the characters from one of these worlds are looking at another world. I don't know if we're dealing with 2 separate people from 2 different worlds, or if we are dealing with like a situation where the way that the world is revolving around their version of the sun or whatever the orbit is, one of these sides of the planet is light and one of these sides of the planet is dark all the time. But like I said, that could be 2 separate planets. I don't know if we're dealing with an eclipse type situation or what, but it definitely seems like we got a light world and a dark world, and we're playing some weird version of anime Freaky Friday between the two, where the characters are going to have to experience each other's lives and magic system and sort of mentor or help each other in those ways. I don't know if it's going to be truly like Prince and Proper Freaky Friday thing, where they're able to communicate back and forth between each other or not. I think it's more interesting if they do have the ability to communicate back and forth with each other, but also maybe that's something that comes later on in the story. I'm not sure. Of all of the secret books that we've seen so far, this is the slowest one to get going, which could be a positive, could be a negative. If you're already a Brandon Sanderson fan, you've probably already signed up for some slower world building elements, because yeah, like there's a part of this story where your character just stacks rocks for a whole chapter, and like we're supposed to be in awe of the fact that she's stacking rocks, it summons spirits, and then she gives lights to people. Like, handing out flashlights and magnets after rock stacking is a huge part of one of the magic systems in this world. And then the other side of this world is really interesting, because you have these dark spirits coming in that are not fully corporeal. They are like ghosts or something, spirits, but they come back and forth between recharging and coming into the world, and then it's up to painters to sort of Pokemon catch them in their paintings. It's really some cool stuff, but it does take a while to get going, and with all of that extra noun info dumpy stuff at the beginning, if you're not prepared for full-on Sanderson nerd Sanderson mode, then it may be a struggle to get through these preview chapters, especially knowing that this is stuff you're probably not going to remember and have to completely reread in the year that whenever this one comes out. If this comes out third, it's going to come out third quarter of next year. One of the things you've come to expect from Sanderson, if you're a fan of his, or even if you aren't a fan of his, is all of his worlds do feel unique, and the fact that they are all very different, like environmentally, geographically, and the magic systems seem so very different. Like, that's really cool. And if you want to dive fully into another Sanderson world, that's really interesting, and you're going to get a bunch of that here, it seems like. I guess honest with this one, I'm just more unsure about how to feel about it. I think some of the influences are amazing. I think some of the potential here is awesome, but this one, because it's more of a mystery and it seems like it's going to be larger, it really does feel like it's more of a wild card on whether this could be something that personally I love or I don't. It could be really amazing. It could be full on huge epic fantasy mode, but with the other two books, it seemed to be like more of a known quantity, more of a, we can understand what type of story this is. I feel like with this one, it feels like he's swinging a lot harder, but because of the nature of how much bigger this one seems to be, it's hard to judge fully on how I personally feel about this one. So like, if the first book is the most excited I am, and the second book, it's not as much excitement, this one is just a question mark. If you're watching at this point in the video, how would you rank the 3 secret projects thus far according to excitement level for when they eventually come out? I don't have as much anime or manga experience as other people that may be watching this and who have been fans of Sanderson for a long time. I'm sure that there's a lot of weebs out there that are super hyped for this one though. So like, how excited on a scale from 1 to 10 are you for Yumi and the Nightmare Painter? Yeah, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Please leave your thoughts for all things Sanderson Kickstarter related and secret project related in the comments down below. Additionally, if you'd like to discuss it more directly, you can join the Discord, which is linked down below. There's a special channel called Sando Writes Too Much to discuss this Kickstarter and or the secret projects there more specifically. We're in a weird time where the Sanderson fandom is split, where there are some people who don't even want to know the titles of these new novels, and I think it's going to be all but impossible to avoid the titles for the new novels until they're actually published. Like, I don't know, I feel like people know the titles of books much before they're released anyway, but I have seen some people who are trying to avoid even the titles. But it has been fun to discuss the specifics of what we're seeing in these preview chapters for those people that have been reading them early as well. Tune in next Friday to see my update and thoughts on the Kickstarter as we start to come to a close, as well as the preview chapters for book 4, which of course Sanderson has teased with being even more different than the rest of these 3 previews. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Goodbye.
Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.